Every Liverpool player ranked from worst to best by This Is Anfield, my favourite Liverpool blog, news site, maybe, blog, articles, list a whole bunch of articles. This Is Anfield have the greatest articles. They're really good. I like them. Go check them out. So we are going to look at their list of the Liverpool players from worst to best. Make sense? Let's do it. They have Darwin Nunez as the worst player, ahead of Federico Chiesa. Say Darwin Nunez. All right. Lowest score went to Darwin Nunez, unfortunately. He's regressing Liverpool shirt to the point at which it's time for him to be sold. It is. That's true. He had a double at Brentford. 1 goal in his final 20 appearances. It makes me so sad to think of Nunez, really. I loved when he first arrived. Agent of chaos, as Klopp said. And he was exciting. He reminded me of Suarez, not just because he's also Uruguayan, because there was an unpredictability. There was a hustling to everything he did. There was this kind of mad energy. And you never knew if he would... And like at the very beginning, when he headbutted someone in the second game, you never knew if he would do something crazy or something genius. And there was that fine line. And there was so much potential. And every time he was brought on from the subs bench, or when he started a game, the match was full of possibility. And then you realized he wasn't Suarez because he couldn't finish. He couldn't finish. Suarez had all of that, but he was an amazing finisher. He could finish from any angle with any type of finish. He was clinical. And he would create as many chances for himself as Nunez would, more even, but he would finish a higher percentage of them. And that's what made Suarez so magical and so amazing. Nunez just couldn't finish. And so I think like a lot of Liverpool fans, I fell in love with his attitude and his enthusiasm, like a puppy dog, just wanting to run after every ball. But every run, there was a high probability of him being offside because he couldn't stay onside either. And so he just realized there was something lacking. And I think I don't know whether it's confidence, over eagerness. A lot of his shots were wild. A lot of his runs are offside. He was just too eager and didn't believe in himself enough to have composure, to just trust that things would happen. He was trying to make them happen too much. He was working too hard in a way. And that combined with the lack of goals, the lack of input, being dropped from the first team, sporadic appearances off the bench, I think just destroyed his confidence. And so I feel really bad for Darwin Nunez. I really wanted him to work out, but he didn't. And lots of people would say, I told you so a year ago. And they'd be right, because this was a terrible year for him. We definitely have to let him go now. For his sake, as well as for ours. For ours, recoup some of the money, spend it wisely in the market. But wise, we'll talk about that another time. Although I still want him even for 150 million. Anyway, back to Nunez. But for his benefit as well, give him a fresh start somewhere else where he can build his confidence, where the team works around him, forgives him for not being as clinical as we'd like him to be, but keeps persisting. Whereas we didn't have to persist as much with him because we had other players that we could lean on. Anyway, let's move on. Jarrell Quansah is quite low down. Number 19. He had a breakthrough 2023-24 season, but it was a trickier campaign. And it did start on that very first match against Ipswich, hauled off at half-time. Slot making a point. If you didn't fight for every ball, you didn't win most of your duels, you're not playing for Liverpool, or at least not often. It was a very tough stance by Slot. And I remember watching it thinking, oh, God, that's going to hurt Quansah's ego, confidence, self-esteem. And I think it has, because every time we've seen him go on a pitch since, he hasn't looked assured. Did he ever look truly assured? Not really. I remember that one time, that mix-up with Elliott, where they both sort of left it for each other, and it led to a goal at the end of last season. I can't remember who it was against, but I remember it was a big point or two lost, and that was part of the reason why our season derailed at the end of last season. Quansah's a good player. He's got the tools. He's got the tools. I think he's missing aggression, as we know from sort of saying, he's not winning enough of his duels. He's missing aggression. He doesn't go in hard enough. He doesn't use his body the way Konate uses it, or Van Dijk, clearly. But his athleticism is there. He's fast. He is strong. He's a big lad. His passing ability mostly is there. I think the times when his passing lets himself down is when he just loses concentration. And maybe that's the main thing. He's not hyper-focused. He's not hungry enough. Or at least doesn't come across hungry enough when he's playing. All right, let's move up the table a bit here. Trent, 11th on their list. This was probably a difficult one to place because of all the emotions that have gone on around Trent this season. When he played, most of the time, there would be some moment of magic, some amazing pass from him. Defensively, once again, nothing to shout home about. He could defend well in certain situations, but one-on-ones, he is a liability. It was a liability. And then he had that match against Man United, which they mentioned here. Dire performance at home to Man United was a real low point, though. And it was such bad timing as well to play so badly. But then he has an excuse, right? Because there was all that happening around the time. The leaks of him going to Real Madrid. I don't hate Trent. I don't even resent what he's done that much. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame it's gone out like this. It's a shame that he ran down his contract. He's going to Real Madrid, a team we have a history with. We've lost players to. We've lost finals to. We've lost important matches to. They keep beating us, don't they? But I do still have a lot of love for Trent. He's done enough for this club to be forgiven for what has happened. I think. Maybe it'll take some time. Maybe he'll never be as loved as if he had stayed here, of course. But what a great player. And not a terrible final season in terms of performances on the whole. Luis Diaz is 6th. He may be going this summer. He may be going this transfer window. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. He's always exciting when he's on the pitch. His dribbles are fun. He does make things happen. He does pop up with important goals, but he's not prolific enough. He's not consistent enough. He's not involved in enough goal involvements. But are we replacing him with Wirtz? Is he going and Wirtz, and then will Wirtz play on the left? Will Cody Gakpo play on the left? Cody Gakpo didn't have the greatest season, in my opinion. So I don't know. Are we letting a really good player go to just leave a hole there again? I don't know. Few players work harder, and keeping him this summer would be better than losing him. So yeah, I agree with that. And 17 goals in all competitions. I think that's more than I realised. He has 17 goals in all competitions. Still, you want him to be a 20-goal-a-season man, but if you had asked me to guess, I would have thought he'd be somewhere between the 13 to 15 goal mark. So that's a better return than I thought. And the top 2, Virgil Van Dijk, which means we know who's first. But let's talk about Van Dijk. What a player, really. And as a captain of Liverpool's team, I think he's grown. He's grown in stature from even before. He's certainly become, actually I can't say certainly, but I think he's become more vocal since becoming captain, as you should. But then that's not hard when you have the pitbull Jordan Henderson, who's constantly shouting and screaming at the whole team, no longer there. Now your voice can be heard a bit more, I guess. But he's risen to that. He hasn't shirked the responsibilities of being a captain at all. And he has stepped up to the plate, been even more of the man at the back for Liverpool. And if it wasn't for Salah's incredible statistics this year, apart from the end of the season where he's tailed off, but he always tails off at the end of every season, doesn't he? But if it wasn't for his goals and assists, Van Dijk would easily sweep this as the best player in that team because of his consistency, his consistent high level all the time, playing so well. It's hard to pick a game. He might have a moment or two in one game where he lets it slip a tiny bit, but he doesn't play bad, really. So, yeah. Deserving of that second spot. Average rating 9.4. Incredible. So now he's lifted the league trophy as a captain. He's going to want that Champions League as a captain too. Let's see if we can do that next year. All right, thanks for watching. Please do check out the full list at This Is Anfield. See where Szoboszlai lands, where McAllister lands, where Tsimikas lands, where Quimine Kelleher lands. I'm so disappointed Quimine is gone, but at least I won't have to struggle with that name anymore. But what a second goalkeeper to lose. Such a shame. Anyway, go and check them out. My favourite site for Liverpool articles. And I'll see you in another video soon. Bye-bye.